Arthur had always been driven by grand ambitions, but those aspirations came at a high cost. He saw Helena as a woman with no great prospects, someone who would never understand his lofty dreams. Between arguments and disdainful glances, he made a decision to leave her. To him, the future depended on shedding any weight. What he didn't realize was that what seemed like a step forward was, in fact, the beginning of his own downfall. For Arthur, marriage was just another chapter that didn't fit into the narrative of his pursuit of success. He believed Helena would never have the courage to move on alone, trapped in the simple routines he despised. But the pain she felt wasn't just deep, it was transformative. It's curious how, at times, the greatest turning points arise from the decisions that hurt us the most. When Helena heard Arthur's harsh words before he left, she felt her heart shatter. The separation wasn't just an event, it was a painful milestone that redefined her life. The disbelief became fuel for something greater. Arthur didn't know it, but that goodbye he treated with indifference would spark one of the most inspiring journeys anyone could witness. Arthur improved his life by diving into work, meetings, and appearances. His colleagues saw him as someone who let nothing stand in his way. Yet, in moments of solitude, he avoided a persistent question: would success taste as sweet if built on a foundation of disdain? Few realize the lasting impact we leave on others when we walk away. For Helena, the days after the separation were filled with painful silence. But like rain fertilizing the soil, her pain began to give way to resilience. She looked around and saw that, at the very least, there was a wealth of possibilities. Many might have given up at that point, but Helena was different. And, though Arthur didn't know it, his absence would become the driving force behind her transformation. Arthur's disdain wasn't just a blow, it was an open wound that Helena chose to turn into a lesson. It's in such moments that we can ask ourselves, what is this teaching me? For Helena, the answer was clear: she needed to build something new. It began with small steps, like the meals she cooked with love. An idea was taking shape. What Arthur didn't foresee was that, while he ignored Helena, she was being reborn. Life places us in situations that seem desolate but are, in truth, doors to something greater. And while he celebrated his small victories, a whirlwind was forming, silent and relentless, in the opposite direction. It was the beginning of something he could not yet imagine. Helena started with something small but filled with purpose: homemade meal boxes. What began as a simple idea stemmed from her desire to prove to herself that she was capable of more. Each meal box carried a touch of care that couldn't be found elsewhere. Her first customers were her neighbors, who were captivated not just by the taste but by the story behind it. It wasn't just food, it was resilience served in every package. In the beginning, Helena divided her time between cooking and spreading the word. With a shy smile, she visited offices and handed out simple flyers. Many looked at her with skepticism, but she wasn't discouraged. She knew that every no was an opportunity to try again. After all, it's not the challenges that define us, but how we choose to face them. One of Helena's greatest secrets to success was her passion for what she did. She learned to create meals that didn't just satisfy hunger but also touched hearts. Her meal boxes began to gain fame, and orders started coming from places she had never imagined. The transformation was just beginning, but the taste of victory was already palpable. Over time, Helena reinvested every penny into the business. She bought better cookware, improved her recipes, and even hired an assistant. Her small apartment turned into an improvised production hub. This is where the power of starting over becomes clear. What seems impossible today can be the foundation of an empire tomorrow. Helena began studying business at night while cooking during the day. Books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki and entrepreneurship videos became her companions. Applying what she learned, she turned her mistakes into lessons. One practical tip she followed: never spend without a plan. With this mindset, her small business grew on a solid foundation. The turning point came when Helena managed to rent a larger space and transform her improvised kitchen into a real restaurant. The name? Flavor and Resilience. It was more than just a restaurant, it was a symbol of a woman who used her pain as a springboard. Anyone who stepped inside could feel the energy of a transformation story. And the dishes remained as delicious as ever. Amid her success, Helena never forgot her roots. She began offering free meals to the homeless on Sundays, using leftover ingredients from the week's production. Her business thrived, and her generosity became a hallmark of her brand. Little did she know that, years later, this act of kindness would play a crucial role in the next chapter of her journey. Arthur lived in a world of appearances. To outsiders, he seemed like the epitome of success: impeccable suits, a luxurious car, important meetings. However, behind closed doors, the debts were piling up. He believed that high risks always brought high returns, but the market taught him a painful lesson. Ruin doesn't announce its arrival, it simply strikes. A series of poorly calculated investments began to dismantle everything Arthur had built. His companies went under, partnerships dissolved, and the doors that were once always open started to close. He tried to keep up appearances, but the calls from debt collectors and letters from the bank wouldn't let him forget. Collapse is silent until it can no longer be ignored. When Arthur realized he would lose his home and all his material possessions, he felt the full weight of his own arrogance. He had abandoned the people who mattered most in pursuit of something that would never be enough. At rock bottom, he began to grasp the cost of his choices. Sometimes, only pain can teach us the lessons we've ignored for years. With no alternatives, Arthur faced the humiliation of selling his belongings and moving to a small town where no one knew his story. He thought he could quietly start over, but the silence of lonely nights brought unwelcome memories. Helena, the woman he had once scorned, now appeared in his mind like a mirror reflecting everything he had failed to value. To survive, Arthur took a job as a clerk at a convenience store. It was a harsh blow for someone who had once led meetings in major corporations. But he learned that every new beginning requires humility. Just as Helena had once started small, it was now his turn to understand the value of the work he had once underestimated. Arthur's financial collapse wasn't just a loss of material wealth but of values. He realized that by chasing wealth without purpose, he had lost more than money. He had lost his connection to who he truly was. These reflections planted the seed of change. Arthur didn't yet know how to turn his situation around, but something within him was awakening. And in the most unexpected moment, life began to weave the threads of a reunion. While Arthur wondered if he would ever get a second chance, fate was already preparing an encounter that would allow him to make amends. It's curious how, sometimes, what we avoid most is exactly what we need to face. One afternoon, Arthur, exhausted from yet another day of work, was walking through the streets of his new town when something caught his attention. A restaurant with a welcoming facade and the name Flavor and Resilience gleaming in golden letters. Driven by curiosity and hunger, he stepped inside, unaware that this place would change everything. The aroma of homemade meals brought back memories he wasn't ready to revisit. When his eyes landed on the woman at the counter, the shock was immediate. It was Helena, the woman he had underestimated years ago. She was no longer the humble, quiet wife he had left behind, but a confident businesswoman, surrounded by customers who admired her. Arthur felt a mixture of shame and disbelief. It was as if the past had caught up with him. Helena noticed him immediately but maintained her composure. With a serene smile, she asked if he'd like a menu. Her cordiality was disarming, while Arthur felt the weight of all the choices that had led him to this moment. He accepted the menu, but the words to express his emotions failed him. Who would have thought a simple restaurant could carry so many painful memories? As he waited for his food, Arthur took in the surroundings. Every detail of the restaurant told a story of struggle and triumph. The photos on the walls showed Helena at events, receiving awards, and collaborating on social projects. He wondered how she had managed to build something so remarkable. With each bite, it was impossible not to taste the bitterness of his own arrogance. When Helena returned to check if everything was all right, Arthur finally mustered the courage to speak. Stammering, he complimented the restaurant and asked how she had achieved such success. Helena, calm and composed, replied that it all started with small meal boxes. The simplicity of her answer hinted at the complexity of her journey, something Arthur could never have imagined. The encounter was more than just a meal, it was a mirror for Arthur. In Helena, he saw what could have been if he had chosen a different path. More than regret, he felt a strange admiration. Yet one question lingered in his mind: did he still have a place in her new reality? As Arthur left the restaurant, his mind was in turmoil. The image of Helena, so strong and accomplished, contrasted sharply with his own situation. He knew he couldn't ignore this reunion. Something inside him whispered that this was just the beginning of a new chapter, but he didn't know how, or if, he could ask for the forgiveness he so deeply desired. After that encounter, Arthur spent days reflecting on what he had experienced. The image of Helena, now so far removed from the woman he had once underestimated, lingered in his mind. Finally, he mustered the courage to return to the restaurant, this time without excuses or pretenses. It was time to face the ghosts he had created and seek what seemed impossible: forgiveness. When Helena saw him walking again, she sensed that something had changed. He was more humble, his gaze no longer carrying the pride it once did. Arthur hesitated for a moment, but soon asked to speak with her privately. Sitting at a corner table in the restaurant, he began to open up, revealing his regret for the choices that had driven them apart. Arthur didn't hold back. He admitted his mistakes, the disdain he had felt at the time, and the pain that had, ironically, come back to haunt him. "I was selfish, Helena. I should never have left you like that." The words were difficult to say, but they were sincere. Helena listened in silence, not interrupting, with the calm demeanor of someone who had already overcome the pain. When Arthur finished, silence filled the space between them. Helena took a deep breath before responding. "Arthur, I forgive you, but not for your sake. I did it a long time ago because holding on to resentment only hinders our own path." Her words were a gentle yet powerful blow. Her forgiveness wasn't born out of weakness but strength. What happened next was something Arthur never expected. Helena made him an offer: a job at the restaurant. "If you want to start over, the place is here. Hard work, no privileges, but a chance to prove you've changed." Arthur was speechless. It was an opportunity that blended redemption and challenge. Accepting the job meant more than earning an income. It was a way to step into the world Helena had built with sweat and tears. For him, it wasn't just a chance to rebuild financially, it was an invitation to learn about humility and resilience. Helena knew that, in time, he would understand that true growth starts from within. Arthur accepted the job, not without trepidation, but with the certainty that he couldn't continue living as he had before. The first days were tough, as he faced the skeptical glances of the staff. But Helena treated him with a mix of firmness and empathy, showing him that true strength lies in offering not just forgiveness but also a second chance. This was only the beginning of his transformation. In the first few months at the restaurant, Arthur faced his greatest battle, against his own ego. The work he would have once scorned was now his daily reality. Cleaning tables, serving customers, and prepping ingredients connected him to something he had never valued before: the daily effort of ordinary people. It was in these small tasks that he began to rediscover the value of humility. Working alongside Helena was a constant lesson. As Arthur adjusted to the routines of the restaurant, she indirectly taught him about resilience. "Every dish served here tells a story of overcoming challenges," Helena once said, showing him a photo of a customer who had turned their life around after getting a job there. Arthur realized that her strength wasn't just in her success, but in how she used it to transform others' lives. Over time, Arthur began to stand out. He proposed ideas to improve logistics and organize the restaurant, skills he had developed during his corporate career. Helena, always open to suggestions, embraced his input. This exchange not only strengthened the business but also restored Arthur's confidence in himself. His journey of starting over was beginning to take shape. A pivotal moment came when Helena invited Arthur to participate in one of the restaurant's social projects. Every Sunday, they served free meals to the homeless. Arthur, who had once dismissed such actions as a waste of time, now saw the grateful faces of those receiving meals and felt something he hadn't in a long time: purpose. He started to understand that true fulfillment came from giving back. Meanwhile, Helena continued expanding the legacy of flavor and resilience. She opened a new restaurant in a neighboring town, with part of the profits allocated to funding vocational courses for underprivileged youth. Arthur, now more involved, saw this work as a mission. He didn't just help manage the operations, he actively participated in the initiatives, finding meaning in the process. Arthur's transformation wasn't quick, but it was profound. He realized that to be truly successful, he had to redefine what success meant. Under Helena's guidance, he began to value human connections, social impact, and purposeful work. Each day brought a new lesson, and every lesson brought him closer to a more meaningful life. Still, Arthur knew his journey of redemption wasn't complete. He looked at Helena, now a respected and admired leader, and saw how much he still had to learn. More than anything, he wanted to be part of her legacy. As he worked to find his place in this new world, the future unfolded before him, filled with the promise of hope and purpose. Time passed, and the impact of Helena on the restaurant and the community grew beyond anything she had ever imagined. Flavor and resilience had become more than just a business, it was a symbol of transformation. Young people who had completed the courses funded by the restaurant now had careers, and some even returned to work alongside Helena. It was living proof that true success lies in multiplying opportunities. Arthur, in turn, found a purpose that extended beyond work. He began giving talks at local schools about financial mistakes and the importance of valuing people. Each time he shared his story, he emphasized one key point: true wealth isn't about what you own, but about what you build with others. Helena smiled when she heard this, knowing he had finally grasped the lesson she had always embodied. In one of these talks, a young student asked Arthur how he managed to rebuild his life after losing everything. He replied with disarming sincerity, I learned from an extraordinary woman that humility isn't weakness, it's the foundation of all greatness. His revelation touched the audience and reinforced the influence of Helena's story, which now transcended her direct actions. The restaurant continued to thrive, but Helena had bigger plans. She founded an NGO to support entrepreneurs in vulnerable situations, offering microloans and business consulting. Arthur, now her right-hand man, helped manage and develop new projects. Together, they demonstrated that with vision and compassion, it's possible to create a lasting legacy. Helena also began writing a book, chronicling her journey from cooking meal boxes to leading social projects. She believed her lessons could inspire others to face their own challenges. Arthur contributed by recalling key moments and helping shape the narrative. The working title? Flavor and Resilience, Turning Pain into Purpose. The impact of their work extended far beyond the city. Newspapers and television programs began sharing the story of Helena and Arthur, inspiring people across the country. Many saw in them a testament that redemption and meaningful growth were possible. Helena's words echoed, overcoming isn't about forgetting the past, but about using it as a springboard to build the future. And so, Helena and Arthur continued their journeys, side by side, showing that forgiveness and transformation know no bounds. Their past served as a foundation, but the future was fertile ground for infinite possibilities. Helena's legacy was more than a business, it was a movement that transcended generations. With each new initiative, they proved that the ripple effect of a transformed life could inspire and uplift countless others. Now that you've followed this story, the question remains, what are you doing with the opportunities and challenges life presents to you? Are you using your pain as a springboard for something greater, or are you letting it hold you back? Helena proved that even the hardest moments can serve as the foundation for building a lasting legacy. And Arthur showed us that it's never too late to turn things around. Think about your own journey. What steps can you take today to transform your reality? Maybe it's time to forgive someone, like Helena did, or to own up to your mistakes and start over, like Arthur. Or perhaps it's time to begin something small yet purposeful. Life is handing you the tools, you just have to decide how to use them. If this story resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss more lessons like this. And don't forget to share your thoughts. What impacted you the most in this story? I'd love to hear from you. Let's keep transforming lives and creating stories that truly matter together.